I'm honored to serve as chairman and CEO of AII, and hope you'll have an opportunity to read an article titled An Energy Disunion, Challenges and Opportunities in Europe's Emerging Energy Market, which will be published in early January in the European Energy Journal.
If you go back to the beginnings of European integration after World War II, energy was at the center of it. It was, the treaty establishing the European coal and steel community. But since then, European integration as it affects energy policy has not been smooth, I would say. There are differences among the countries in their energy mixes and the structures of energy markets and a desire to protect national champions. This has all resulted in different interests of member states, I think, hindering energy policy cooperation. So where are we today? The EU imports more than half of the energy it consumes. Its import dependency is particularly high for oil, more than 90%, and natural gas, about 2/3, with a total import bill of more than €1 billion a day. These dependencies on imports for oil and natural gas are likely to grow. Of particular concern is where countries rely on a single supplier for an energy source, such as the countries, I think there's 6 of them, that rely entirely or almost so on Russia for their natural gas, and in the Baltic countries, which are heavily dependent on Russia for operation and balancing of electric grids. Russia supplies about 30% or so of the EU's gas supply. So this dependence leaves countries vulnerable to supply disruptions, whether it's for political reasons or commercial disputes or failure of infrastructure.
But as far as the dependence on the imports of oil and gas, the situation has not changed, for us. We are fully dependent on Russian imports, and as was correctly mentioned, this is not a very good situation because Russians are not hesitant to use that position, monopolistic position, for improvement of their own situation, and they could be quite ruthless. And we understand that the U.S. is putting more and more gas on the world market, and it is having its effect. But we would like to have the increase of that tendency to a larger extent, so that we in Central and Eastern Europe would feel it more. So that's the main message.
But what's going on in Europe is not a joke. What Russia has triggered is something really serious, and also serious not just in security and defense perspective, but also from the economic and energy perspective. That a power like the United States simply cannot stand behind a closed door, having the key and having the ability to open that door, and just refuse to enter the new realities that this world presents. And the new realities come not just because Russia has provoked the United States to open the door, but because it's natural. Because the United States went through the shale revolution, that the United States face new realities related to oil and other hydrocarbon resources.
There's a demand side to this that I think both policymakers and businesses need to look at. Demand, and we'll just talk about gas right now, in Europe for gas is declining. It's going to be a very, very competitive market. It's not just a question of whether U.S. LNG will or will not be exported. So all of you people out in the audience who have anything to say about this, make sure we get legislation that allows the U.S. to export gas and oil. The real question is, let's talk about what can the U.S. do? What should we do? What can we do as a government? The major thing is both the U.S. and Europe have to remove the barriers to the market working. And that means allowing exports of oil and gas from the United States, for starters. And these liberalization measures that we've been talking about in Europe that still haven't entirely taken hold.
So if the EU vice president comes here and says that, America, listen to me, we need your participation for all kinds of reasons, then you better believe it. Russian gas will never only be energy. It's always geopolitics. And trust me, while of course the CEO of Gazprom has this calculation, is it viable? Is this really a business we can carry? But trust me, the consideration is first and foremost political. as we sit here today, as we are having a discussion in the US Congress, there is another meeting in Moscow, in the Kremlin, discussing how can we use the energy tool to further divide Europe, further divide the United States and Europe, and wreak havoc in the European Union. And this is the way you have to think about it. But as things stand today, with all the mess that we have in Europe, I think it is in the interest of the United States to be part not only of the debate and dialogue, but show some leadership on how we can fix this together, how the transatlantic community can be more energy independent, taking into account all the developments, renewables, the future of gas, coal, everything, so that we can say in a few years that we actually did the right thing. At the end of the day, if there is an understanding that the United States needs to be a participant to make Europe less dependent on sources of gas and oil that are sources that are difficult, that are threatening, that are unilateral, if that is clear, then I think that is really our intention, our goal.